Okay. Very good morning, guys. Okay. So, so last class, I was giving you an introduction to ADO.NET. So what is ADO.NET? ADO.NET is a library. ADO.NET is a library using which .NET applications can communicate with the data sources with the help of ODBC drivers or OLDB providers or the framework providers. Three options. First one, ODBC drivers. Second one, OLDB provider. Third one, framework providers. So, very importantly, what you people require to understand is ADO.NET is just a library. With this library means a set of types. And by using this, you can interact with data sources. But you should take the help of any of these three things. What three? ODBC drivers or OLDB providers or the framework providers. Any of these particular three things are required to take the help of it. Okay. And yeah, how many assemblies are there in the ADO.NET? How many assemblies are there? What are the two? System.data.dll. Second one, system.data.oracle client.dll. System.data.dll and system.data.oracle client.dll. Under that, we have 5 namespaces here. First in system.data, 4 are there. What are the 4? System.data, system.data.odbc, system.data.oldb, system.data.sql client. And in the second assembly, we have one namespace. What is that? System.data.oracle client. Okay. What I said about each and everything, system.data. Types in this assembly are used for holding and managing the data on the client computers. Concentrate here. Types in this namespace are used for holding and managing the data. What? The system.data. What are the classes? DataSet, data table, data column, data row, data view, data relation. Data view, data relation. Second is system.data.odbc. This is to interact with relational databases using ODBC drivers. OLDB. Interacting with, I said you one simple word again, why you're telling relational laundry, any data source. Interacting with any data source using OLDB providers. SQL client. Interacting with SQL Server using framework provider for SQL Server, Oracle client. Interacting with Oracle using framework provider for Oracle. And here we have the same sets of classes. Remember, I listed you 6 classes. What are the 6? Connection, command, data reader, data adapter, parameter, command builder. Parameter and command builder. Okay, these are the 6 classes, but 6 into 4, these are 24 classes where every of this class should be prefixed with ODBC or OLDB or SQL or Oracle keywords. Okay, to differentiate. Yeah, this is all what I taught you in the last class. And finally, we ended up a discussion here. Whenever you want to perform any operations on the data source, we basically perform 4 things. What are the 4? Select, insert, update, and delete. In other words, we call them as CRUD operations. CRUD means create, read, update, delete. Where create, C stands for create means insert, R means read, select, update is update only, delete is delete only. Okay, create, read, update, and delete. So, in relational terminology, we call them as select, insert, update, delete. Object-oriented terminology, we call them as CRUD. Are you clear? In object-oriented terminology, we call them as CRUD. We call them as a CRUD operations. Okay, fine. Next, what is the other thing? Yeah, every database operation mainly involves in 3 steps. I explained you, stopped here only. Every database operation involves in 3 steps. What is the first step? Establishing a connection, sending a request to the data source as an SQL statement. Third, capturing the results. What happened? Yeah, is where we stopped it. Every database operation involves in 3 steps. If you want to perform any database operation, okay, every operation mainly involves in 3 steps. What is the first step? By using SQL, is something like this here. You just try to order some food online. You're trying to order some food online. What do? You first, okay, today we have apps like Swiggy, Zomato, and all. But earlier, we don't have any apps here. If at all you want to make an order, we used to make a phone call and order. We used to make a phone call and order the food. Suppose you're trying to order a pizza. Okay, they used to have the phone numbers. So we used to call the phone numbers and place an order basically. Okay. So now, what is the step? We dial the number. We dial the number. Once we dial the number, what happens? A connection is established to the pizza store now. Correct? We dial the number, a connection is established to the pizza store. Okay, what next? You place your order for a pizza. Varieties of pizzas are there, and you place your order for a pizza. Once you place an order for the pizza, what is the next step? They'll prepare it and send it for you, and you take the delivery of the pizza. Yes or not? We have same 3 only here. Understand carefully. The same 3 steps. What we have here? What is the step? You are making a phone call and establishing a connection with the pizza store. Same way, you are establishing a connection with the data source. Second step, you're placing an order for a pizza now. Array, what do you want? That is a request. You're placing an order for a pizza, and here it is sending a request for executing some SQL. Third step is they prepare and send you, and you take the delivery. This is also same only. Array, once the statements are executed, it will send the results back now. It will send the results back. What should I do? Capture the results. Capture the results. Okay, fine. Today, we'll talk about each and every step in detail. Let's start with establishing a connection. What is meant by establishing a connection? Establishing a connection means it is a process of opening. It is a process of opening a channel for communication between the application and data source. I repeat, it is a process of opening a channel for communication between the application and the data source. We have an application, we have the data source, and now we are trying to open a channel for communication between the 2 systems now. And that's what we call as establishing a connection. And remember this point here, the data source can be present on the same computer, or the data source can be present on a remote computer. Who knows? But wherever it is present, it's present on the same computer or a remote computer, opening a connection is mandatory. Okay, read it. Are you clear? What we do? We open a channel for communication between the application and the data source. We open a channel for communication between the application and data source, which is present either on a local machine or on a remote machine. So don't forget, it can be present on the local machine also, or it can be present on a remote machine also. Is it clearer, all of you? Okay, so that's what we call as establishing a connection. That's what we call as establishing a connection. So what we are going to do? We are going to open a channel for communication between the application data source, which is present either on a local machine or on a remote machine. Okay, which is present on the local machine or on a remote machine. Okay, now, and how to open? We need to take the help of a class now. Are you clearer or not? We're required to take the help of a class now. What is the class? Connection is the class what you're required to take as a help now. What is the class? Connection is a class which should be taken into help now. You're required to use this class now. Okay, then, if that is the case, we need to understand how to work with the connection class now. Guys, remember, if all you want to work with any class, what do you require to know? I need to know the information about the class. What information you want to know? What are the constructors in the class? What are the methods in the class? What are the properties in the class? Everything about the class now. Yes or not? Simply I'll give a class and use means you should know the constructor. Otherwise, you cannot create an instance. Without knowing a constructor, you cannot create the instance of the class now. And you have to call the methods. So you need to know what methods are there. You might be using some properties. So you should know what properties are there. So first, let us understand about each and everything about this. Let's start working with. Now read it. First, we need to know about members of the class. First, we need to know about members of that particular class, like constructors, methods, properties, all these things we should know first. Hope you guys are clear. Okay, let us start with constructors. It has two constructors, men. Default constructor, parameterized constructor. The first one is a default constructor. Second one is a parameterized constructor. What the parameter takes? String. Look, guys, what the parameter takes? String. What is a string? It's called connection string. What is connection string? A set of attributes that are required for establishing a connection. See, you want to send an invitation card for your marriage to one of your friends. You want to send an invitation card for your marriage to one of your friends now. And basically the friend lives in a different state, not in your place. He lives in different state. So you want to send the invitation card by post. You want to send the invitation card by post. This is what your requirement is. So you're required to write the address on it now. What do you write? Name of the person. Which state? Which state? In that state, which city? In that city, which area? In that area, which street? Correct or not? In that street, house number. Suppose it is an apartment, flat number. All these things should be present along with the pin code. Along with the pin code. So now tell me, all this information or all these are the attributes to connect to the person or not? Tell me. Same way, to establish a connection with a data source, we require some information now. What is it? Read it. DSN, provider, data source, user ID, password, integrated connection, database or initial catalog, extended properties. All this information is required for establishing a connection. Are you getting my point or not? All this information is required for establishing a connection. To establish a connection, all this information will be required basically now. Are you guys clearer or not? To To establish a connection, all this information will be required. If all this information is present, then only you can establish a connection. Okay, doesn't mean that everything is mandatory, but we may require some, we may not require, but we need these attributes. Okay, not all compulsory. For some are required, some are not required. But let me explain you. First one, DSN. When do you need the DSN? You need the DSN when you are connecting to a data source using ODBC driver. Listen guys, you need this DSN when we want to establish a connection with the data source by using ODBC driver. Okay, by using that attribute, you're required to specify the DSN name we have created yesterday. Yesterday we created 3 DSNs, remember? Tell me the names. Excel DSN, SQL DSN, Oracle DSN. We created 3 DSNs now. That DSN name should be specified here. Okay, let me tell you. Answer my question. If I want to establish a connection with a data source using ODBC driver, which connection class should I use? 4 connection classes are there now. I want to use ODBC driver and connect now. Which connection class should I use? ODBC connection. Which connection class we use? ODBC connection. Watch it now. ODBC connection, con or otherwise, con is equals to a new ODBC connection. I'm creating an instance of the class, and here I'm passing information. What DSN is equals to the name of the DSN you created for SQL server. What is the name? SQL DSN. That's all. Now this is ready to establish a connection now. This is ready to establish a connection. Why? Under this, the whole information is present. Under this, the whole information is present. Same way, I want to connect with Oracle now. Same guys. OCon is equals to Oracle DSN. I want to connect with Excel. Excel DSN. So now understand, SCon will establish a connection with SQL server. Econ will establish a connection with Excel. OCon will establish a connection with Oracle. What are the other DSNs? Under the DSN, we specified all the details. What details? Server name, user ID, password, database to connect with. All the details we entered there now. So with that information, these classes will establish the connection. That is what DSN. And understand, this DSN is required only for, you don't require in any other case, only for ODBC driver. Come on guys, read it. This is the only attribute which is required if we want to connect with a data source by using ODBC drivers. And by using this, we need to specify the DSN name we have created. What you required to specify? DSN name we have created. You have a DSN now, you're required to specify the DSN name in this place now. Hope you guys are clear. Understood or not? Okay, so that is what the DSN is all about. So you can see, these are the examples I shown you now. Okay, now, what next? The next attribute is provide. When do you need this? You need this for only for OLTP providers. Okay, what is this? Guys, when you are using a provider to connect now, you are required to specify the provider name in our code now. We need to specify the provider name in our code. Remember, difference between drivers and providers. Drivers require configuration, I said you. Provider doesn't require any configurations now. We don't require any configuration. Without any configuration, we require to specify the details now. What is that? Provider name. What is provider name? Do we use the same provider for all or separate provider for each? So every provider has a name now. Every provider has a name. What you are required to do? You are required to tell the provider name now. You are required to tell the provider name. How's that? Like this. For Oracle, the provider name is, this is for the old version here, this is for the new version. Old versions of Oracle uses this, new versions of Oracle uses this. For SQL Server, SQL OLTP. For Excel, Again, same. Old versions of Excel, latest version of Excel. 4.0, 12.0. This is Z and this is ACE. This is for old versions of Excel and this is for the new versions of Excel. Indexing server, MSIDX. What is this indexing server? This is the underlying technology behind the search engines. We use search engines every day. Nah? The underlying technology behind the search engines are called as indexing servers. Microsoft has its own indexing servers based on this. The Bing search will work. You use the Bing search. In Windows, the Bing is a default search engine. The Bing search uses that search engine only. What is that? MS indexing server. Okay. For that also, you can connect. What is the provider name? MSIDXS. Like this, I'll have a different provider for every data source now. Are you clearer or not? So I need to specify now. I want to connect with Oracle now. I need to write a provider is equals to OLDB.Oracle. I want to connect with SQL Server. What do I need to write? Provider is equals to SQL OLDB. For Excel, provider is equals to Microsoft.ace.oldb.12.0. That's how we require to specify the provider name. So did you understand about the provider? And don't forget, where you require a provider? Only for OLDB. Only for OLDB. Provider is it's a name. You see, you want to connect with a data source and you will be using these providers now. This is the name of the provider. This is the name of the provider. For connecting with Oracle, this is the provider name. For connecting with SQL Server, this is a provider name. We need to use them. I'll show you practically. Wait, let me explain you and then I'll show you. Next attribute. When do you require it? See guys, first one is required only for, second one required only for, but third one is required for ODLDB and framework provider also. What is it? What is that, you know? By using this, you're going to specify the server name. You're going to specify the server name. If your data source is a database. If your data source is a database, or file path if your data source is a file. Yesterday you done it now. Well, configuring the ODBC. You specified the server name there now. I shown you clearly. For Oracle, also we specified there it's called TMS service name. But in SQL Server, we call it server name only. But when you configured Excel, you did not enter the server name or something. What you entered? Path of the file. You clicked the browse button and selected the file there. That is only data source. Data source means name of the server if the data source is database. File path if the data source is a file. File path if the data source is a file. Read it. I thought the files will be given now. Okay. Next. What is this? By using this, you are going to specify the credentials now. For Oracle, we have a credentials. For SQL Server, we have credentials. We require to specify the credentials by using this user ID password now. By using user ID and password, you are required to specify the credentials. Are you clear? Next one. You need it for both OLDB and framework also. What is the use of this, you know? Basically, last class also I said you, SQL Server has two authentications to us. What are the two? Windows means operating system credentials. Second one, SQL means your own credentials. If you are using, last day I showed you, see, if SQL, we require to enter the user ID password. If it is Windows, we don't enter the user ID password now. Yes or not? So what is integrated security is to tell, I wanted to use Windows authentication. What is that? To tell I want to use Windows authentication. That's why we need it only for, because SQL Server only has the dual authentication. Remaining databases doesn't have. Oracle doesn't have dual authentication. MySQL doesn't have dual authentication. Who has the dual authentication? Why Microsoft has given that? Because it's a product of Windows. It said you, array Windows credentials also can be used for connecting to SQL server. Are you clear? Otherwise, that is not a correct process here. The correct one is using SQL authentication only. Because Windows authentication works only within the network, not across the network. Did you understand me or not? Windows authentication works only within the organization network. I have my server in US and I want to connect with India. I cannot use an SQL Windows authentication. What should I use? SQL only should be used, not the Windows. Is it clear? So if you want to use Windows authentication, then you require to use that attribute. What is it? Integrated security is equals to SSPI. What is that? Integrated security is equals to SSPI, Security Support Protocol Provider Interface. Something that is the extension, that the full form of it, but we need to use. And don't forget, in that scenario, these two attributes will not come. These two are for SQL authentication, and this is for Windows authentication. Okay, next attribute. Array, this is to tell the name of your database under which the table is present. Yesterday I said, by default we have a database called master. We connected with the master only in the last. But we can create our own databases, we'll see. You learned in SQL Server, but here also we'll see. Creating a database, creating a table, all these things I'll show you. Understood me? Okay. So basically, that's what. You just use this to tell the name of the database. And this also only for SQL Server. Last one. Required only for OLDB and that too MS Excel on. What is this, sir? Actually, you noticed it here. The provider for Excel and Access is same. Excel and Access is same. So because both are same, by default, it is configured for Access. By default, it is configured for Access. So if I want to connect it to Excel, then I require to tell what extended properties is equals to Excel. Extended properties is equals to Excel. If I don't tell, default is Access. Simple, man. We learned about list box, remember? List box supports both single and multi-selection. By default is single. If you want multiple, you require to change the property called selection mode is equals to multiple. Same only. Extended properties is equals to Excel. If I don't tell, default is Access. That is why we need the extended properties. Okay. Let me show you how to write all these attributes here. I said about ODBC already completed. Now let me teach you about OLDB. OLDB means you're required to take the help of OLDB connection class, guys. OLDB connection. SCON is equals to new OLDB connection. And now here you're required to provide all the information, man. First one. Provider is equals to. Do you remember the provider name? SQL OLDB. What is the provider name? SQL OLDB. Semicolon. Watch carefully. Semicolon. Data source is the server name. Data source is equals to. Last class I shown you what is my server name. My server name is server only now. Server. Okay. Semicolon. User ID password. User ID. My user ID, my system's user ID is SA. I don't know what is your server name. You require to check on your machine. Okay. Password is equals to. My system password is 123. My system's user ID is SA. My system's password is 123. I'll show you. See. When you open the management studio, watch here. Here it will automatically show you your server name. Here automatically will show you. This is the same name you should use in your code also. And asking you which authentication you want. Suppose I select Windows. See, these text boxes are disabled. And it is logging by using the user NIT, man. What is it NIT? NIT is a user account with which I logged into my computer. Where server is my computer name. NIT is the user. But if I say SQL authentication, then it asks you for your already password. My already is one SA, my password is 123. My already is SA and my password is 123. Click on connect. Connected. Connecting to SQL server. That's what. So what's my password? 123. Next. Listen. Next one. Array, we are writing user ID password base integrated security will not come. Next. Both are same only here. You tell the name of the database you want to connect with. Database is equals to, I did not create any database, but default we have a database called master. Database is equals to master. Next one. We don't require, this is for Excel. This is how you write a connection string. This is how you write a connection string. Observe it. Provider is equals to, data source is equals to, user ID equals to, password is equals to, database equals to. So guys, watch it carefully. This is for connecting to SQL server using SQL authentication. Correct now? I wanted to use Windows authentication. If that is the case, remove these two attributes and in the place of this write down integrated security is equals to SSPI. Integrated security is equals to SSPI. The full form of that SSPI given in your notes. Don't worry. Okay. And all of you carefully observe it. Generally, by default, when you're installing SQL Server, the default authentication will be Windows. But at the time of installation, you can choose an option called mixed mode. When you select mixed mode, both will work. So my system works on both. It works with Windows authentication also. It works with SQL authentication also. Both will work for me now. Understood? Tell me. Okay. So that's what. And remember, the sequence of these attributes is not mandatory. You can follow any sequence. Not case sensitive, but be careful with spaces and all the things what you are giving. There is a space between data and source. There is a space between integrated security. Don't add any extra spaces in the middle. I see most of the people, you'll put a semicolon here and you'll add a space here. Semicolon is a separator. Yeah? Why you want a space again as a separator now? Why are you using semicolon there? Separator only now. Don't add any extra spaces. That's what I'm warning. Are you clear? You will face this problem if you add the extra spaces in middle. Don't add. Already semicolon is a separator. So did you understand this is for connecting to SQL server now? Now, same way, can I write this for connecting with Oracle? Or Excel? We'll try Excel first. I'll follow the same sequence. Yes, same way now we'll try Excel. OLA DB connection is equals to new OLA DB connection. Okay, you can start entering the appropriate details. What's it? Provider is equals to Microsoft dot ACE dot OLEDB dot 12.0. The latest is Microsoft ACE, semicolon. Okay, and remember, data source is equals to, do you remember? E drive. Under that, I have a folder called, I showed you in the last class. In that, I have my document called school.xls. And all of you remember, for path, your record is a double slash. I already said you. Hey, earlier also I said you this. Path cannot be single slash, double slash. Okay, E drive, folder name. Excel docs, file name. School.xls. Next. User ID password? No. Integrated security? No. Array, file doesn't have all this. Database? No. Then what do you require? You need this. extended properties is equals to Excel. That's how you should write. What is the 8.0? Actually, do you notice that the latest extension of Excel is Excel SX? Did not see what is the Word document extension? DocX, not doc anymore. In the latest, what is the default extension? DocX. For Excel also, extension is not XLS, Excel SX. Even PowerPoint also, not PPT, PPTX. All will have extra X there. The X indicates the latest. Are you clear? But my file is not XLSX. My file is XLS. The last version of XLS is 8.0. After 8.0, it is XLSX. It is XLSX. That's why I use there XL 8.0. And that is the last version for XLS. If it is XLSX, you are required to specify the next version there. Are you clearer or not? Okay, this is how you write it. And here I don't have any authentication at all to again tell Windows and SQL, only one only. Now same way, can we try for Oracle? Come on. Ora OLEDB dot Oracle. Ora OLEDB dot Oracle. Ora OLEDB dot Oracle. Okay. What next? Data source. Data source is equals to server. Server name is server only. Machine name, man. Next. User ID. My user ID is system. Password is equals to, my password is manager1. That's it. So the database not required. Database not required for Oracle. In Oracle, there won't be databases. In Oracle, there won't be databases. For every user, some space is allocated. When you connect with the user, it will automatically take you to that particular connected space now. So no need to give any database names or anything for Oracle. That's why here when I mentioned here very clearly said, you see, SQL Server only, not for Oracle. What I specified, provider. Sir, what about this? This is also only for SQL Server. This is also only for SQL Server. This is for Excel. So I need only this three, this four. You can see provider, data source, you're ready, password. Yeah, guys, you have the connections, things for connecting to Oracle, SQL and all. First I showed you ODBC and then I showed you OLEDB. Are you clear? What are the other options we have? Framework providers. We have two more connections now. SQL connection, Oracle connection. SQL connection can connect only with SQL Server. Oracle connection connect only with Oracle. Okay, just a minute. I'll show you them also so that you'll get a clarity. Now let us start with SQL connection for connecting with SQL Server. Guys, observe this. Everything same, man. When you are using SQL connection, everything is same. Change the name of the class here first. What is the name? SQL connection. Are you clear? Listen carefully. When you're using SQL connection, all attributes are same. You don't require a provider there, that's all. You don't require a provider. Why, sir? OLEDB connection can connect with, fill in the blank. OLEDB connection can connect with any data source. Correct now? Then how do you tell which data source to connect? By using provider name, I'm telling you, when I say provider is equals to Aura OLEDB, it will understand connect with Oracle. When I say provider is equals to Microsoft.as, it will understand connect with Excel. When the provider is SQL OLEDB, it will understand connect with SQL Server. But SQL connection can connect with? Then why should I say again now? Why should I tell the provider name? Yeah, it is designed to connect with SQL Server only. So do I need a provider name there? No need. First one is SQL authentication. Second one is Windows authentication. Is that clear? Okay, simple. You want to travel to Secunderabad railway station from Amirpet. If you want to travel to Secunderabad railway station from Amirpet, you're required to catch the number 10 bus. The number 10 bus, if you take in Amirpet, it will directly go to Secunderabad station. Are you clear? Now tell me, after getting into the number 10 bus, do you require to go to the driver and tell him, take me to Secunderabad station? Huh? Tell me, why? Because the target is that one, it will go there only. I don't require to tell him, go to him and say, please take me to Secunderabad station now. The target of the bus is Secunderabad station only. Correct? Huh? But you want to travel to the station on an auto. When you get into the auto, you should clearly tell him, take me to Secunderabad railway station. If you say, take me to station, he will take you to railway station or a police station or a fire station also. Yes or not? You say railway station, he can take you to Secunderabad railway station or a Nampally railway station or a Kachigod railway station. So you clearly tell him, take me to Secunderabad station, because the auto can travel anywhere. Same with your OLDB connection. OLDB connection can connect with anything now. So tell clearly what you want to connect. But SQL connection is like a city bus, man. It will connect only to SQL server. I don't require to tell the provider name again. Same with Oracle connection also. You can try Oracle also, guys, in the place of this. Now let me try Oracle. Come on, let's change the name now. Oracle connection is equals to new Oracle connection. I don't require the provider name. Data source equals to server. User ID is equals to system. Password is equals to manager. Is that clear, all of you? Okay, so just exclude the attribute. What is that? Provider. So did you understand all the attributes? And guys, in the notes, I've given you a detailed list of these attributes to you, what to use when. Attribute, ODBC, OLDB framework. First attribute. Required only for, no need for OLDB and framework now. Next, the provider. We don't require ODBC. We need only for OLDB, and framework doesn't require the provider attribute. Data source. No need for ODBC. Required for OLDB framework. User ID password. Same. Integrated security. Same again. But just to make you understand, given a star there, only for SQL Server. Database registry catalog. Same. But that is also for SQL Server. Last one. And you need it only in case of OLDB, but don't require in the case of framework. I did not say no there. Why did not say no there and put a hyphen there? We don't have a framework provider for Excel now. We don't have a framework provider for Excel. So that's why I just did not say no, simply left it hyphen, leaving it. There is no framework provider for Excel. You need it only for Excel and that too for OLDB. That only I have typed here also, see. That only no, I typed here also. Understood me? Okay, I given it in the chat format also, just to remember what attributes are required when. Okay now? Fine. So these are all the different attributes what we have. They're all the different attributes what you have, guys. The sequence of the attributes doesn't matter. I repeat, what is that? The sequence of the attributes doesn't matter. You can write them in any sequence you want. And it is not case sensitive also. It is not case sensitive also. Okay, you can write in any case. Clear? This is for Oracle and this is for SQL. All I shown you here. ODBC, OLEDB, Oracle, SQL, everything. I don't have any update here. I don't know what is happening. Okay. And you see methods of connection class. Methods of connection class. Open and close. First I said constructors here, no methods. What will the open method do? Opens the connection. What will the close method do? Closes the connection. Same way, properties are there. Two properties. First one, state. Read only property. What will this do? It will tell you the state of the connection. What is that, sir? What is that is? State of the connection. Yeah, you called open. Open will open the connection now. And opened or not, you can check it now by using state. State will tell you the state of the connection, whether the state is open or whether the state is closed. Connection string. It's a read-write property. What is the use of it? To get or set a connection string now. To set or get a connection string. Tell me one thing. How many connection constructors are there? How many constructors are there for connection? Two now. One is second one parameter. But here all we use the parameterized. Or in all the examples, what I used is parameterized. Tomorrow, if you are creating an instance by using a default constructor, then how to pass the connection string? And if you use a parameterized, you'll pass the constructor parameter now. But using a default constructor, then how to pass the constant string now? By using the property. Read this. Look here, which constructor am I using? Default. Now in the next line, I written separately what? Con dot connection string is equals to the connection string. Second option, directly you can pass it. Are you clear with the connection string property now? That is to get or set the connection string associated with the object, with the connection object. Okay. Shall we test this now? Shall we test all these things? Yeah. Someone asking to send the notes. Why here? I cannot send the notes when I printed everything here. Check it out. Everything what I explained to you is as it is present in this. I cannot share the notes every day to you. Okay, all things as it is, I have in the notes also. Read it. See, open, close, state, connection string, the two ways to establish a connection. Everything I put in the notes. Again, don't ask me, send me notepad, sir. I won't send it. Yeah, guys, have a look. Let me create a fresh new project. We'll go for a ASP.NET web application. I'm naming it as a DB examples. What's the folder? ASP9, right? Empty web form. Okay. What next? Let me add a web form. We'll name it as test connection. Test connection. I want to add a set of buttons on it. First one. And you guys don't have Oracle on your computer. That's not showing with, I did not print it with Oracle. But if you want, I'll show you in the classroom. You can connect with Oracle also. You can connect with Oracle also. I'm showing you in the classroom, guys, because you don't have Oracle, you cannot test it. Is that clear? But just to prove you everything is possible, I'm showing you with all. I'll add 8 buttons on the screen now. Okay. Yeah, I have 8 buttons. As I want to show you connecting with all the things. Let's start with ODBC first. Let us start with ODBC. To connect with ODBC, what is the first thing we require to do? We need to configure, we just require to configure the DSN. We require to configure the DSN. Already in the last session, I showed you creating the DSN, but let me show you once again how this DSN has to be created. Okay, so let me show you the process of creating a DSN again. How to create a DSN? Go to control panel. Yeah. You always see half only, remaining half you eat off. Nothing you remember. Control panel. Next, administrative tools. ODBC data sources. I said you go for 64-bit. So 32 may not work on your systems. Go with 64 because all our softwares and everything is 64-bit now. Next, click on the add button. Choose the driver you want to configure. I want to configure the driver for SQL Server. So select, click on the finish. Tell the name. SQL DSN. Description. Max out SQL Server. Server. You can pick your credentials. I said you, my system works on both. I'm using Windows. Then database. Default is database. If you want to change, you can select this and change. But right now, I don't have any databases created on the system except my master. So don't change anything now. Leave the master. Click next. Click finish. Click on. You should get the message. Tests completed successfully. So everything is perfect now. So this is a DSN for SQL server. Same again. Add Excel. Finish. Office Excel document. What next? Here, no server name, guys. We need to tell the path of that now. Select. I have it on E drive. Folder name is Excel Docs. File name is school.xls. Click OK. Same way, go for add. Now select Oracle. And I said you will not have Oracle because Oracle is not installed on your machines. Okay, ignore Oracle. Just to show you, it can connect with anything I'm showing in the classroom. You don't bother with Oracle. I did not give in the notes also. Okay, finish. Next, server name this is. And here enter user ID / password. User ID and password. And you can click on the test button once. Check. All are created. Is that clear? All are created. I don't know here. I can't tell that. I don't have the information, please. Contact your admins, please. Yeah. Now, let me show you the process now. First button. SQL server using ODBC driver. SQL server using ODBC driver. Come on. ODBC driver means I need to use ODBC connection now. If that's the case, I should import system.data.odbc. I should import system.data.odbc. Look, using ODBC. Okay, system.data.odbc is the name what I have. Come on, let me come to button click. ODBC connection con is equals to new ODBC connection. DSN is equals to SQL DSN. Okay, on dot open. It will open the connection. Now, I want to check whether this connection is open or not. I want to check whether this connection is open or not. I can use the state property man. I can use the state property. And I want to show this message as an alert, as a JavaScript alert. Connection is, here the value will come now, open or close. Using ODBC driver. Afterwards, and again I'm redirecting. Means first time the message should come as connection is open. Second time the message should come as connection is closed. Are you clear? First time the message should come as connection is open, and the second time the message should come as connection is closed. Run. Click on the button. Connection is closed. Are you clearer, everyone? Same way, let me try with my second button. What is my second button? OLEDB. What is my second one? OLEDB. Come on, guys. Step one, import your namespace. I need to write my connection string now. I can write like this also. If I use default constructor, I can use my property and assign the value. If you feel that lengthy, write it separate statement to be clear. Okay, now come on, tell me the connection string. Provider is equals to next. Data source is equals to next. That sequence is not important. I already said you. Database is equals to master. Next. Yes, say. Password is equals to 1, 2, 3. Are you clear? Rest of the code is same, man. The same only. Open message, close message. But now it has to show you using OLEDB provider. Correct now? Yeah. That code, I'll copy paste it without wasting the time. Observe. OLEDB provider. Come on, run and see. Second button, right? Closed. Open, close. Both are working. Want to show you this also. Commenting the second line. Pasted it again. Should work. Working with Windows authentication also. Same. Third one. SQL client. SQL client. No SQL client now. Come on. Can I use the same code or not? What I said you, we can use the same code only, but don't write provider. Come on, I'll show you. SQL connection con is equals to new SQL connection. On dot connection string is equals to data source is equals to server. Database is equals to master. User ID is equals to SA. Password is equals to 1, 2, 3. Are you clear? The next thing is same. You can check. Did you notice one thing? It's very fast here. You compared it, you noticed it. The 1 and 2 has taken time, but 3 did not take the time at all. When I click on it, immediately it worked. That's why I said here. What is it? Framework is faster and efficient. It's faster and it is efficient. Clear? Here also, if you want to try with Windows authentication, I can prove you that also. Close. It's very fast. Next, Excel ODBC. Already ODBC is imported now. No need to import again. ODBC connection con is equals to new ODBC connection. DSN is equals to Excel DSN. Okay. Now you can write the open, close in between the two message boxes. Okay. Run. If you understand one correctly, rest all will be same only. That's what I said to you. You know what required to learn about all the 4 connection classes. One connection class, you know, you can work with rest. See now? Excel. Understood? ODBC. Same way. 12.2. E drive. Next. Excel 8.2. Rest 4 lines, same code. Clear? ODBC is also working. OLDB is also working. All. Understood, everyone? I think in the notes I given it as Z dot. Make it as. And if you find try 4.0. If it work, okay. If it doesn't work, change to AS 12.0. Change to AS 12.0. Are you clearer or not? And here I was telling the path of the file here. I just C drive. Where you place it, I don't know. I set the path of my system to make you understand the path. You try your physical path. Okay, if you want, I'll upload you the Excel, this folder into your Google Classroom, download it. There you have school.xls. Okay. What next? Oracle. Guys, can I copy this as it is and use there? Copy. The first one I'm copying, pasting it here, change the code. What? Oracle DS. Oracle. Understood? I will run it. Next, OLDB. Come to OLDB now. Come on. Copy this. Come on, let's change. Aura OLEDB dot Oracle. What is the name? Server. User ID. System. Manager 1. Okay, with Oracle using OLEDB provider. Is that clear? Same way, let's try the last also, man. Oracle client provider. Now you require which connection? Oracle connection. Alright, till now we tried ODBC connection, OLEDB connection, SQL connection, and we imported the 3 namespaces. Now we want to try with Oracle connection. Okay, so should import Oracle is not in the list. See, Oracle client is not in the list. ODBC is there, OLEDB is there, SQL client is there, but Oracle client is not in the list. Right now, I'll tell you why. Actually, this is why I said from the low level, which assembly they are present, which namespace they are present, all the things separately explained here. This ODBC, OLEDB, SQL client are present under system.data.dll. Oracle client is present under system.data.oracle client.dll. So actually, guys, by default, there is a reference added to system.data.dll. By default, the reference is already added to system.data.dll. You can check it out. How? Go to Solution Explorer. That is the DLL file. Right click on this, go to properties, and here you will see the name now. But observe it, there is no reference added to system.data.oracle client. You cannot see that. Is it clear? That is why you are not able to use Oracle. That is why you are not able to use or connect with Oracle. So if you want to check with Oracle, you need to add a reference first. You need to add a reference first. Come on, how to do? Reference adding now. Right click, add reference. Right click on the references and select add reference. A window will open. And you want to add a reference to user defined or predefined? Predefined. So by default, remember, you'll be having assemblies. Under that, the framework assemblies. You can see that the framework we are using to build our application. In this list, you should find. No reference added. So select it. Click on the OK. You got Oracle client now. Okay. Oracle connection is equals to new Oracle connection. Data source server. No database, right? User ID. Manager 1. With Oracle. using framework provider. Using framework provider. Are you guys clear? You need to tell that, yeah. Generic path means what? You need to tell the name of the file name. You can pick the path dynamically, but file name is mandatory. Path means until folder, but file name should be mandatory. You can't escape from that. ODBC. OLDB. Framework. Clear? All working, say. SQL Server with ODBC. SQL Server with OLDB. SQL Server with framework. Excel with ODBC. Excel with OLDB. Oracle with ODBC. Oracle with OLDB. Oracle with framework. All working. Understood me? Okay, suppose in this process, if you enter any wrong values, the connections won't work. See there. Enter the wrong password and the login denied. Corrected it. Hope it's clear, all of you. Understood or not? So this is how you are going to fill in the appropriate details and enter. So this is all about how you establish a connection. Are you clear with the process of establishing a connection? I've shown all 4 options to you. What? ODBC, not 4 options, 3 options. ODBC, OLDB, framework. Under framework, we have Oracle, SQL, separate, but always 3 options. ODBC, OLDB, framework for SQL, framework for Oracle. And to do that, 4 namespaces are what is important now. Okay, by default, Oracle client will not come, guys. Remember what to do? You have to add a reference. Okay. Anyhow, you're not going to try with Oracle. Anyhow, you're not going to try with Oracle. Try only with SQL and try with Excel. Okay, we'll do one thing. I will that Excel document, anything can be used. Anything can be used. Depends here. What works, that should be used. First, give preference to framework. Second, OLDB. Third, ODBC. Depends here. If you don't have an availability of a framework, you are required to go for using OLDB or ODBC only. Then how do I decide which one is better? I'll say framework is better. Can you use framework on MySQL? Availability is not there now. That's why I'm not telling you which one is better. I'll show you all options. Try everything. What works and what is feasible. Check the time. Which one is efficient? Use the appropriate things. That's it. Yeah, I'll do one thing. So actually, this Excel docs folder, here, it has one file called school.xls here. If you open that, it will be having some data in a table format. Some students' data will be present. Actually, an Excel document is called as a workbook. Listen carefully. An Excel document is called as a workbook. A workbook is a collection of worksheets. A workbook is a collection of worksheets. By default, you see it's a workbook here. Under that, you have worksheet. Can you see that? Click on this. Okay. Now see, look at this, guys. Now let me come here. In the first name, in the first row, whatever enter will be the column names now. Will be the column names of your table. Like, are you clear? So, PID, name, subject, salary. You can start entering the data now. Okay, now you can enter some names into this particular thing. Okay, some name, Ravi. Subject, maths, and some salary of 50,000. Okay, Peter, chemistry. Okay, physics. So, is an English professor. I can start storing some data like this now. I can start storing some data in this particular values. Okay, whatever you want, you can just store in this Sanskrit. See, what I'm trying to tell you now, your workbook is like a database here. Your worksheet is a table now. I have two tables in it. What are two tables? One is student table and one is teacher table. Student table has some 10 records in it. My teacher table has some 5 records in it. So like this, you can store the information in the Excel documents. Are you guys clear? So this is my workbook. Okay. And well, just a minute. I'll upload this in your Google Classroom. You can download and use it. Guys, I cannot attach a folder. I cannot attach a folder. Generally, you can attach only files, but not a folder. So let me zip it. I'm zipping this, guys. Excel docs.rar. This one. Yeah, 2 are there in both. I'll post. So put in any location you like. Put in any location you like and specify the path in your code now. Okay. First unzip it. Okay, guys. You can download and you can try. Ignore Oracle, try with SQL, try with Excel. Clear? Tomorrow I'll teach you the second step now. What is the second step? And also we'll see both the two things. Sending a request and capturing the results. Okay, let's stop here. All of you try establishing a connection first. Okay.